Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To begin with, I would like to extend my thanks to my sponsor, FBD, for affording me this opportunity. My intention is that through my report and future work in this area, I can make a payback of sorts to the industry. I want to thank my wife, our 2 kids, my parents, and my work colleagues, who all put in the extra hours that allowed me to make time for Nuffield. A special thanks to Nuffield Ireland, and of course my mentor, Amy McGeever, for much needed help, or kicking, along the way. The title of my topic is Farmers' Responsibility to Become More Competitive and Sustainable Employers. I've met with some amazing people over the past 2 years, and I want to thank them for being so generous with their time. And thanks again to Nuffield for opening so many doors during that time. This, for example, is a coffee plantation I visited in southern India that is having an issue regarding the stability of its workforce. No guarantee that the same people will turn up for work each day. So through a calendar of works, they can maintain a steady work rate. In the remote parts of Brazil, the challenge is to stop people moving to more urban areas and maintain them working in our more rural parts. This ranch is struggling to find experienced people to herd and look after its animals. In India, I saw some very labour-demanding crops, such as coffee plantations and paddy fields, much of which the labour is very manual, and much of which the labour has been done by women. The challenge there is to educate farm owners in more efficient ways of doing the work. Next, a vegetable farm in Brazil, employing 3,000 full-time and a further 3,000 part-time employees. The business is valued in the community, and the people that work within it are proud to do so, as they see the value of having such a business locally, employing so many people. On the dairy farm of Larson Acres in Wisconsin, communication at all levels is very important. Regular meetings are held with a focus on making sure information flows both down to and up from employees to higher management level. Bonfatura in Brazil employs 1,200 people to farm its 40,000 hectares. The family identified that villages were disappearing, and with it the sense of community amongst their employees. So this is one photo of a village they have built to redevelop that sense of community. It includes a church, school, playground, cinema, and a communal socializing area. And finally, a photo with CJ Ortez, employee at Milk Source in Wisconsin. Milk Source hold great value on the employees and always try to recruit from within. When I visited, CJ's husband started as a milker, in 2008, and when I visited, had just been promoted to new farm startup specialist. CJ herself has returned to work through help from Milk Source, and recently their 21-year-old son just received a scholarship from them and hopes to join them soon. So why this topic? I consider the availability of reliable long-term staff one of the largest threats to my business and anyone looking to expand in the dairy sector. So as a way of risk management and an attempt to fill a knowledge gap, I chose this topic to help myself and others in the industry become better employers. Now, although the next point may look like many people's perception of a Nuffield scholarship, it instead refers to my farm manager, Aidan, who had to travel to Australia to find out that he enjoys working on dairy farms. Aidan, a qualified electrical engineer and not from a farming background, only started working in agriculture because of Australian work visa laws. I feel Irish farmers had failed in not giving Aidan this opportunity while he was here in Ireland. So what were my objectives as I set out? How often do we hear farmers say, he or she were no good, they couldn't stick the pace here, or he or she, they were never happy anyway, etc., etc. I wanted to find a way to move farms away from blaming their employees and look at their own business and ask, what can I change to make sure the next person does not choose to leave? I wanted to find the skills and knowledge needed to successfully run a team and manage people. But the real goal I see for the industry is not to compete with each other for the unfortunately ever-decreasing pool of experienced and agriculturally trained people, but to strengthen our recruitment ability and get to a position that farming is a more credible career choice. New Zealand holds the reputation of being the share milking capital of the world, and the long-term goal I see for the agricultural sector here in Ireland is that we can stamp our authority on becoming the farm employment capital of the world. There are, of course, many threats to this, and 4 of which I'm going to expand on today. Farmers ourselves, agricultural stigma, the perception of ag, and the strengthening economy. And unfortunately, there is no threat larger than farmers ourselves and our continual negative bombarding of our own industry. When trying to encourage people into an industry, the saying any publicity is good publicity simply doesn't help. Many farms in Ireland are not workplaces to be proud of as an industry. In the RDS in March 2017, my wife Jennifer and I ran a survey on the Agri-Careers Day, where we ran a survey and identified people's views and choices regarding working in agriculture. The top 2 reasons people chose for not pursuing a career as an employee on farm were long working hours and the lack of progression in the industry. I know many of you here today, like myself, run a modern dairy farm, and can with confidence say that neither of these 2 points are issues on our farms. But yet, this is the perception being held, and not only that, but the main reasons people are not entering our industry. This stigma or perception is being allowed to fill an ever-increasing knowledge gap of those not directly linked to agriculture. Now, the unemployment rates in Ireland currently sit at 5.4%. That's 3% lower than the Eurozone average, and a huge reduction from its 10-year peak of 16% back in early 2012. A CIPD survey in the UK this year found that 81% of organisations have experienced skill shortages in the past 12 months. People have choices in the workplace again, so even more reason for the agricultural sector to act sooner rather than later. Now, before I get blamed for being too negative towards farmers myself, let's explore some of the opportunities and strengths we have. Research shows that in 2002, only 8% of US employees checked emails before arriving at their office. Today, that figure is over 50%, with many people checking them before they even get out of bed. So the days of the 9-to-5 job are well and truly over, with more and more being expected of employees outside of contracted working hours. This adds untold stress and strain to employees and their families. Agriculture offers a role with many varied tasks that are both mentally and physically challenging, a job that is rewarding and based in and around nature, a far cry from the tower blocks of inner-city workplaces. There are few other careers you can move to from any other industry, and with the correct mentoring and attitude, develop all the skills needed to grow into the industry. And not a day goes by that I don't hear a radio interview or read a headline relating to the housing crisis that looms in the major cities of Ireland. And being the optimist that I am, I see yet another opportunity for farmers as employers. We can offer a clear and quick way onto the property ladder. If owning your own home or even just having more disposable income is what you want, then I see a career in agriculture in a more rural part of the country, the start that many people might be looking for. So to summarise these positive points, farming can offer a role with clear start and finish times, with little or no work or stress to bring home. The role is healthy, with a mix of tasks that offer challenges both physically and mentally. Experience is not essential, which is a key point in a world that, apart from graduate jobs, a minimum of 3 to 5 years' experience in a similar role is needed in most cases. And of course, due to the rural setting of the jobs, cost of living is lower, allowing for more disposable income and the opportunity to gain equity quicker through the purchasing of assets. Now, I want to turn your attention to the skills and areas we need to improve on a farm-to-farm specific basis if we are to attract and retain employees. Knowledge is power. Sharing information, communicating correctly, and involving employees in the decision-making process of the business can allow them to feel more valued and gain a sense of ownership upon the company. There are many useful tools available at the moment, such as WhatsApp groups, for quick and easy ways to share information with record for later reference. Weekly meetings are also key to information flow, an opportunity to discuss plans, KPIs, and gain feedback from our employees. But we must be aware of the correct times to communicate. Meetings should not be held during rest times, and barring exceptions, employees should not be expected to stay in touch with the farm while away from the farm. So before anyone starts to look for an employee, they must be aware of the style of manager they are and the type of culture they operate on their farm. There is no right or wrong answers to these questions, but a farmer must know how he or she operates the farm so they can set about finding the most suited employee. The idea of staff planning is to allow farmers more time to fill an upcoming vacancy. With this planning, a farmer should be able to see an upcoming labour shortfall, whether that be during busy times or as part of larger expansion plans, and in turn removing the need for these long working hours during busy times. So by now, the farmer knows how the farm is managed and when and how much help is needed. The recruitment process can begin. Job descriptions, advertising, interviewing, selecting the correct person, agreeing terms and other details. The average time for this process is 2.5 months across all industries. So to put this in context, if you're looking for someone to start the 1st of February next, then you need to start recruiting today. The level of investment is of course farm specific, but the industry must move towards a standard. That would include toilet, showering, changing facilities, a warm, dry area to rest and prepare meals. These are nothing more than basic needs. And it of course goes without saying that continual investment is needed in anything that can improve the health and safety of all our employees. There are many other areas of focus I've expanded on further in my report, such as managing expectations, becoming more flexible as an employer, and of course the legal obligations and their importance to employees. Now, to bring my results to a conclusion, My first point is a double-edged sword in ways, in that farmers are not aware of how positive a role we have to offer. The direct knock-on effect is that there is an incorrect perception being developed of a career in agriculture and the opportunities that lie within. Let's not be afraid to build a workplace to be proud of. What might be acceptable for a farm owner that carries all the risk, but with it all the reward, might be short of what it takes to attract someone who has every right to open the job section of any paper, any day, and move to or away from your workplace. Staying with investment, invest in people, invest your time, training, and effort to develop and grow people into your business. Never be afraid of training someone up to being great at some risk of them moving on, because if you don't, you will have kept many people that are not so great. Better to have trained and lost than to have never trained at all. There is a lack of HR skills in the sector, and there are, of course, contractors that will take over much of this. But the point is that farmers need to become more aware and educated of the importance a relationship with employees has, and how management styles and culture has a huge impact on employee engagement. My last slide is, of course, how I best see we can make improvements in the area. And starting with ag colleges and through our advisors in Teagasc, we need further education around the area of human resources and management styles. Farm sizes are growing, and with it the need for labour. So the skill of becoming a better people manager must become part of our agricultural education system. Farming has challenges at times, but not all the time. The sector and all its stakeholders must give agriculture a more positive footing more often. Lobby groups have a role to play in moving agriculture to a more positive position with the media and public. At the end of the day, we are trying to sell a workplace in a very crowded market. I recommend we attempt to move the sector towards a standardised workplace to include the points I've mentioned earlier. As part of this, we create an improving employer certificate for those that are working towards improving their workplace. This certificate could be opt-in or opt-out, connected in some way maybe to the Board B inspections already being carried out on farms. If there's to be any government involvement in attracting people toward a career in ag, I see it taking the shape of tax reliefs for the employee. From the government's perspective, they are reducing demand on housing and other services in our more urban areas, while helping to maintain our population levels in our more rural areas. And I see there being an opportunity to tie together these two previous recommendations, in that only employees to these certified farms would gain these reliefs, hence ensuring them better working conditions and allowing the employer a recruitment advantage. MilkSource, I mentioned earlier, was founded in 1999 and now employs over 700 people, milking over 40,000 cows on 8 farms. I inquired as to what the drivers were for this rapid rate of growth. The director did not hesitate for a second before saying, the only way to keep good people is to build a strong business around them. He grows his company to retain and continue to challenge his employees. And to finish, res non verba, deeds, not words. Farmers need to stop blaming others and acting and hiding behind talk, and act on the issue that is facing our industry. This is our workplace, our sector. Let's be proud of it. Employees have choices. It's farmers' responsibility to make sure they choose a farmer as their employer. Thank you very much.